minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and get started just because I want to be sure. We've got one major project I want to cover. And so I want to be sure we dive into that and I answer as many questions as possible. It is the first time we're going to be showing a portfolio review. We got a lot of questions and requests for that. So I know quite a few folks are going to be looking to this portfolio review. And if you're watching this as a recording later on, just know that you can always submit your questions. There's going to be a slide with my email on it. So just feel free, if you couldn't attend today, send me those questions. Filling out a portfolio review is actually the exact same as doing it for a single asset. You're going to see that here in a second. We will be in touch with you once you indicate that this is part of a portfolio, or perhaps it's a corporate campus. Okay, let's get going. Grace, could you just do me a favor? I didn't see if anybody raised their hands. Is my audio okay, and are you able to see my screen?
Yes, you're all good.
Mm-hmm. All right, thanks, girl. Yeah, like I said, just having some issues with Zoom. So, all right, let's get going. So if you want to put a face to a name, that's me up on the screen. Recovering architect for sure. That's my background. Let me just kind of give you a high-level overview, and then I'll let our other panelists introduce herself. So I started my career at Johnson Space Center. I'm really excited to see a lot of this mission to Mars work coming to fruition finally, because I was part of it over 10 years ago. And I was there as part of a small team to embed sustainable measures. As you know, most government facilities must obtain LEED Silver certification. So I was there to help keep that campus green. After that, went and helped Methodist Hospital System with one-of-a-kind laboratories and research centers, embedding sustainable measures where I could. Did the same thing for Department of Defense, U.S. Federal Courthouse Administration, and then jumped overseas, did some work for, Johnson & Johnson, Shell Real Estate, and many others. My common thread has always been, no matter how complex the asset is, you want to embed sustainable measures, and I'll talk about why owners want to do that here in a second. Let me let Grace introduce herself. She's our panelist, and as you can see, she is our commercial lead at IncentiFind. If you submit a commercial project, you will be engaging with Grace and her team. So Grace, tell us about yourself.
Sure, thanks, Natalie. Yeah, as Natalie mentioned, Grace Bennett here. I'll give you a little background on myself. I graduated with a degree in urban planning and kind of lived in that world of city planning, public entity world for a couple years, and then kind of switched gears over into commercial real estate. So there I kind of utilized my minor, which I got in environmental sustainability. And that's where I worked with CBRE, actually helping implement and operate multiple energy efficiency programs and just sustainability programs overall for sites nationwide. So I got to do fun stuff like recycling and waste diversion, working with solar panels and EV charging stations, and of course energy efficiency campaigns and all that good stuff. So I had that background there, and again, kind of shifted gears, but still focusing on energy efficiency primarily. I went into work for a utility consulting company called Clear Results. They're nationwide. Essentially, we just act as a third party to kind of help, again, implement and operate energy efficiency rebate programs and incentive programs for utilities nationwide. So there's when I really got a good grasp and good experience working with customers of any size and contractors and installers of any size, kind of linking them up and helping them funnel into the process of how to actually achieve these rebates. So yeah, that's a little bit on my background.
Yeah, thanks, Grace. So as I mentioned, if you come to IncentiFind, you submit a commercial project, you are going to have the absolute pleasure of working with Grace. And she is the one that completely manages how our database instantaneously connects your property or asset or project to incentives. And then further, as you heard about her diverse background, right, she uses that to layer in trends that you may not be aware of. She also will help you understand how to navigate the good, the bad, the ugly about all the incentive programs, because you're going to see here in a bit, not every program, it doesn't make sense to go after every program, right? So she's going to be there to manage your expectations all along the way. So she's got a really, killer team under her. So yeah, looking forward to you guys connecting with her on many fronts. Every month, if you're new to these webinars, every single month, we always like to recap what we showed last month in case you want that recording. Maybe the projects I'm going to go over real quick resonate with you. If they do, you can submit an email and just say, hey, Natalie, I really want June's webinar or May's or whatever month it is. We have them all stored. We're about to take them all to our website, by the way, so I'm really excited about that, to where you can just go to IncentiFind.com, click webinars, and be able to download and view any of our previous webinars. But here's what happened on June's. So we were asked to do a New York City project specifically affected by COVID. So we did that. As you can see, this is a New York City office upgrade. You're going to see here in a second, we have a 3-step process. And step 1, you submit your project using a 2-minute survey. And our system automatically tells you, look, you're in a healthy incentive offering. Of course, New York City, the results came back pretty high, showing that particular commercial property owner, he or she was in a very healthy incentive landscape and offering. So after step 1, our system is going to introduce you to Grace in step 2. She and her team are going to verify what your owner is eligible for. If you're an architect or someone serving an owner, yes, she can work directly with you before you present it to your owner. That's actually a pretty common practice with a lot of our affiliates. So in step 2, Grace is going to take what the system showed the owner. Look, there might be 84 incentives. Let's talk about the 14 you're eligible for, but there's the good, the bad, the ugly. So you may just want to consider a couple. You can see this particular owner considered 2 incentives, one for LED lighting, one for controls. The reason why you're seeing the $750K right here versus the $250K is because with COVID, and I'm going to talk about this here in a second, there's been a lot of leniency and additional funds that have been pumped into certain utility programs. Not all, but some. So there is a chance that now that New York has reopened, this particular owner could be eligible for more money. And that's just one of the things you can rely on IncentiFind to help you navigate and track. So we had also had a request, IncentiFind, we've never seen you do a public facility. Okay, great. How about we do a municipality, new construction right here in Texas? Very healthy incentive landscape. I know that sounds surprising for Texas, but there are a lot of incentives. As you can see, step 2, that's where the owner or affiliate, such as an architect or anyone who serves an owner, meets with Grace, and she says, look, you're in a healthy incentive landscape. You're technically only eligible for 17, but let's talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. And that particular owner or municipality decided that they would only consider 3 incentives. And you can see those incentives broken down right there. So just to give you an idea. All right, one other request that we had a ton of feedback from our last webinar on was, can you go over those low-cost building trends again? Yes, absolutely. And we are still seeing these come in as pretty major trends and ways in which you can connect to your owner. I actually was a panelist on several webinars leading up to this one for other companies and firms, consultants, you name it, where I talked about these low-cost building trends. So let me just tell the story real quick, okay? We know that offices are limiting their capacity of staff for COVID, right? By rotating them. That's affecting a lot of the dynamic load in office settings. What's happening now with that load? It means that the energy load changes, so the owners we're noticing are coming to IncentiFind and saying, you know what, I realize I've never considered your demand response or load management program IncentiFind, but I want to consider it now. I've got a dynamic load. This is definitely a program where I want to capture some cost savings. We've also seen owners realize I wouldn't want to say emergency, but much needed capital improvements whenever they flushed out their air and water systems before reentry. As you can imagine, when you hyper focus on cleaning a system that maybe you haven't repaired in a while, you might notice some upgrades, right? So we've been seeing a lot of incentive inquiries coming in from building owners with commercial assets for their HVAC and water systems. Yes, we house incentives for both of those. We've also been seeing a lot on the automated fixtures. That's both touchless entry, which you see down here. Yes, there are smart building technology incentives out there, as well as automated bathroom fixtures. Yes, there are incentives for that as well, especially if they cover water conservation, which we house as an incentive category at IncentiFind. The other two things are reasons why owners are coming to IncentiFind. I'm going to talk about that on one of our project examples here in a second. Okay, we talked about how they're flushing out their air and water systems, and now it's really bringing it to their attention, equipment that needs to be addressed. Well, here's another quick spend that owners are being faced with. As they're bringing in more outside air, again, we want to circulate and just try and do our best to mitigate where we can with COVID. They're changing out to more strict air filters, right? So those MERV 13 or perhaps 8 filters. It's going to affect the energy use. Notice right here, a 3 to 5% increase. Now your building owners saying, okay, great, our electric bills just went up. How can I find additional cost savings? They're coming to IncentiFind and considering other improvements to reduce those ongoing monthly electric and water bills. So just kind of wanted to touch on all of those bases again. Your owners are probably facing this. Feel free to reach out to me in ways in which to talk to your owner about these low-cost building trends and ways that incentives can help them address it. We also had outstanding feedback when it came to the state and local and utility trends. Specifically, the one that I heard the most resonance on was, yeah, St. Louis had voted to adopt this building energy performance standard. In other words, making it mandatory that building owners make improvements to reduce their energy use, right? Not just putting a climate plan out there, right? Or an energy plan out there, or renewable plan out there, but saying you must do this. And they said, are other cities doing that? Well, let's talk about that. I like how my slide, there we go. Here are the other cities on that. Within the past 18 months, right? This is all centered around states, cities, and local governments and utilities realizing economic road to recovery must be a green one, because going green in construction and real estate creates way more jobs than traditional stimulus, right? Plus it helps them achieve their sustainability goals. So states and local governments and utilities are all about pumping additional funds, plans, mandates, incentives, you name it, to help the economic recovery be a green one. So in the past 18 months, DC, New York City, Washington State, St. Louis have all enacted building performance standards. These were already in place in Boulder and Reno, FYI. And look at the similar proposals under construction at any moment. We anticipate Boston, the entire state of Colorado, and Montgomery County in Maryland, possibly the entire state of Maryland also looking at it too. So if you have an owner that needs to be thinking about those building trends, and they even touch their building on the HVAC or any energy front, now they could be faced with required action to meeting new building performance standards. They're going to definitely want to know about the cost saving incentives in our database. Okay, so you're hearing me talk about this, and if you're new to our webinar series, you're probably wondering, sorry, can you step back, tell me more about IncentiFind? Absolutely. If you're not new, feel free to just, check a quick email. So we're, despite being 4 years old, we are considered one of the fastest growing real estate tech startups based out of Texas. You can see we are headquartered in Houston, Texas, but we're a virtual operation. So even during this time of COVID, our staff sits all over the US. They know how to work from home. They were already structured to work virtually. It means we don't have to be on a project site. We don't have to sit at the owner's table with you. We don't have to sit together with you. It has been business as usual for IncentiFind, even with COVID. We've got a pretty fast growing team of experts, just like you heard Grace in my background. Pretty much any of our commercial team has a background in sustainability and real estate, or has been previously managed an energy efficiency program or any sort of incentive program. And so we've got just a really great, diverse group of energy and water conservation as well as renewable experts here. If you want to think about IncentiFind, just think of us as the database that brings cost savings to new construction or existing building projects, right? We're going to talk about that here in a second. We house over 12,000 incentives. I was asked to look at a recent estimate of where that could be. We could be looking at our next recount hitting as high as 26,000 incentives. And with more incentives being created, remember, as part of the economic recovery being a green one, we could see that be even higher. We get asked all the time, okay, IncentiFind, of these 12,000 or more incentives, how much money does that represent? So we ran a quick little estimate way back when with Department of Energy, and that was determined to be worth a minimum $10 billion available to property owners. So we want to be a clearinghouse for that 10 billion. Yes, it's offered every single year. So that's kind of the supply side, right? Let's have a look at the demand side. We get asked, okay, IncentiFind, how many green projects, are we seeing in the United States every year? Well, we worked with the United States Green Building Council, as well as Energy Star Portfolio Manager and Green Globes, and you name it. Anyone who had to publicly record green certified or attempted to be certified green buildings, we noticed that that number was about 1 million green projects, at least registering per year. But I say that's a minimum because we all know you don't have to get certified to be considered a green project. You just have to be going above code. And we'll talk about how majority of owners are going above code just by using everyday products right off the shelf. So to put that all together, you're talking to, or you're hearing from, the only database to connect those 1 million green projects to that 10 billion in incentives using a 2-minute survey. So here's what's in our database, because we get asked this a lot. So for the commercial side, notice it's bifurcated, right? On the left-hand side, there's all the new construction. On the right-hand side, existing buildings. So new construction incentives are not for existing and vice versa, right? They are completely separate. Notice what's in yellow, above code or achieving certification. That's all that's needed in order to be eligible for the incentives in our database. Well, how do you know if your owner is going above code? The way we like to tell that, provide that answer, tell that story is to say, think about being a manufacturer for, I don't know, lighting, HVAC, anything energy, water on the market, right? And you're trying to sell your product in the United States. Well, first off, you're going to look at the most stringent building codes in the US, right? And you're going to make sure your product is way above that stringent building code because you want your product to be used in all 50 states, right? Then you might even further make that product even more above code because you want it to stay on the shelves a little longer so that GCs can go and pull it off the shelf and install it in the building and architects can spec it, right? So just by having those specifications from the architect, just by the GC going and pulling that equipment, your owner's going green without realizing it and is more than likely eligible for the incentives in our database. And you can see the breakdown of the categories below. So we've got, at a broad level, energy efficiency. No, that is not just for lighting. We get asked that all the time. Let me just kind of rattle off how far this goes in energy, okay? It's everything from LED lighting to cool roof to windows to doors to insulation to load management, demand response, controls. The list goes on and on. It's anything that touches an energy system, building envelope, or system-wide. Renewables, yes, it's mostly going to be for solar. That's just what a lot of the applications have been, but we also house, geothermal and wind as well, so other applications. For water conservation, that's both indoor and outdoor across all, water systems. So that's everything. If you're a multifamily, that's going to be all of the water systems in your individual units. If you're an office, that's going to be, yes, your restroom facilities. So, and if you're in drought-prone parts of the United States, California, Arizona, majority of West Texas and Colorado, you're going to have some really lucrative incentive offerings for water conservation equipment being installed. Now that we've gone over all the categories in a building, right, holistically, we further at IncentiFind take it one step further and look at the land. that the asset sits on, the building sits on. So if you're new construction, we're going to house those brownfield development, EV charge stations, certifications such as LEED, Green Globes, you name it. We have opportunity zones, new market tax credits, PACE eligible areas, which is just kind of a green financing tool. We're going to house resilience. We see fireproofing, floodproofing, hurricane proofing, and smart building technologies. So we look at buildings holistically and the land they sit on, because let's be honest, that's how buildings are constructed and upgraded. That's our big value differentiator. Let me talk about the projects in 2020. We went every quarter, I run analytics of all the different property types that we see come into IncentiFind. And we like to list in order of priority those assets. This has been especially popular because folks want to know, are there asset types that are showing to be a little more resilient to the economic downturn due to COVID? And the answer is yes, there are some. So let's have a look at them, okay? New construction on this side, existing building on the other. And again, all of these projects just have to go slightly above code, right? In order to reap some pretty lucrative benefits from incentives. So we've got industrial manufacturing, logistics and warehouse, data centers, senior housing and multifamily, because we still have shortages. Medical office buildings and master plan communities. Yes, we even do master plan communities. And that's actually considered commercial, not residential. Our residential side of the house, which we do have, is only for single family dwellings. So even multifamily technically falls on our commercial side. For existing buildings, we've seen a lot from the medical office building community, industrial manufacturing, logistics and warehouse, grocery and convenience stores. They've been pretty flush with cash. Multifamily of all sizes, offices C to AA, really trying to be competitive and retain tenants, especially now. And then K-12 and higher ed. We're going to feature one of those here in a second. Lots of those, both public and private entities, are really thinking about how to reopen in the fall. So now you've seen what's in our database, right? You've seen the types of projects that we touch. You know a little bit more about what we do at IncentiFind, which is to connect projects to incentives, right? So let's talk about how we connect projects to incentives. We leverage a 3-step process. I know it's not that complicated, but I want to walk through it because for some of you, this might be new, and just touching on it can really help to answer some questions. Everything is done at IncentiFind.com, and everything starts with a search survey. And the reason why we have you or your owner, it could be you, the owner's representative, or someone providing consultancy services or design services to an owner, or it can be the owner that fills out the survey. There's no wrong way to do it. They're pretty easy answers. It should take you a whopping 2 minutes. It's 12 questions, ranging from how big is the building to how old is it to what type of asset it is. It's anything that you or the owner can answer, nothing confidential. We do not sell any of that information to third parties. We're doing fine with our current model, have no need to monetize that at any near future date. So after you fill out the survey, you're going to get these immediate results. You saw that at the first slide, and we're just going to make sure you're in a healthy incentive landscape. So you're going to see a laundry list of incentives that are fed back to you. Know that that's not everything your project's eligible for. We just want to make sure you know that particular project is in a healthy area before you consider paying for our Verify report. The search results are really only critical if you are not in a major, metro area, growing suburb, city. I mean, you've really got to be in some rural parts of the United States, which yes, we do see projects come in for the search results to really be a critical factor before moving to Verify. So most people don't even think about this. They just jump over to Verify. So once we know more about your project, our system automatically filters out all incentives based on your survey response. And those results are sent to Grace and her team. We don't send those to you right away or to you or your owner. Why is that? Well, because there's something that Grace, her expertise, and her team can do that our technology can't do. Our technology can't make quick considerations for other trends and for things like COVID. So let me give you an example. You might input something from, New York City, maybe an office like you just saw, and you see that you're in a healthy incentive landscape. Already your interest is peaked for a verify report. Your results are sent over and you are matched to incentives in our system. That goes to Grace, and she's going to look at it and say, wow, you know what? They only checked lighting on this particular project. That might be the scope, but maybe I should just layer in, there's a great controls program, and I wonder if they're going to be touching controls at all on this particular program. I think I'm going to also add this very successful, easy to capture load management program and demand response program. And at that, the HVAC program, from NYSERDA has been so successful. I'm just going to go ahead and add it and make them aware. They can take it out if they want to. That's something our system can't do. We need our human element on that. And her and her team are always going to be looking out for those kinds of trends on your behalf. So after we layer in our human expertise, you're going to get an email that says, hey, your verify report's ready for your review. Of course, you would have already paid, or you can pay at that moment. Doesn't matter. But to view your verify report, you just pay that fee. Our team will go over it and show you the good, the bad, the ugly, everything that you are eligible for, how to capture it. They'll show you it across all 5 levels of government, ranging from utility to city to county to state to federal level. So, this particular report you'll see here in a second, is delivered to you as a digital report. It's going to stay open for 24 months, and all of the information is going to be updated in the background, because let's be honest, things are still kind of shaky with COVID. So if your project might not have that kickoff start date that you thought it did, you want to make sure that this report stays live, stays relevant for up to 24 months if there are any delays on your project. So we do that there. Real quick, this is per building or a complex. So if you are someone in the multifamily front and you're thinking, my multifamilies have multiple buildings, that's okay. We're just going to price it per complex. If you have a corporate campus or a portfolio, we're going to give some pretty substantial discounts for that. And then after you know what you're eligible for, the next most logical step is to go on to apply. Right on our verify report, which I'm going to show you here in a second, you're going to see a little button that says, help me apply. And you click that button, and your incentive is fast tracked to what we call an applied dashboard. And you get to watch our team, our application fulfillment team, prepare your application, submit your application, track when that rebate check is going to hit, when it's going to be sent to you or your owner, and so on and so forth. So again, we're here to take this process off of your plate and let you focus on what you do best. Let me just quickly touch on our contingency fee. We get asked this a lot. So the contingency fee is whether we succeed or not with the incentive. No, we only take a 25% contingency fee if we are successful at maximizing and obtaining that rebate. So let me just give an example, and I'll use round numbers. If Grace determines for your New York City project that you're eligible for, I'm just going to say $100. Obviously, it's going to be far more than that, but $100, then, and you click help apply, because applying to incentives is convoluted, right? Our team will take that on, grab your specs, grab all the information from you, go apply to submit the application, monitor that. When we get that $100 for you, we're going to take 25 and send you 75. So it's only if we're successful. If the project is shelved, delayed, if something's value engineered out, no, you or your owner do not owe us anything. That's why our fee is 25%. And just notice, no, this does not apply to tax-related incentives. We house those. We cannot do application fulfillment services on that. We are not a financial advisory firm. If you're listening on the phone and you are not an owner, a building owner, but perhaps you're somebody who serves them, just know that we do have an affiliate program. If you have interest, just do what others have done before on these webinars. Send me an email, say, hey, Natalie, I'm really interested in the affiliate program. I'll send you some materials. Essentially, you get to have rev share on the verify reports. No, as an affiliate, if you're listening, you never pay for a verify report. Owners always pay for verify reports because they are the beneficiary of the rebates. We've never had an issue with that. Some affiliates decide to pay up front for the owner, and then they will bill them on the back end. No wrong way to bill your owner, but just know that you as an affiliate, as an architect, engineer, facilities manager, or someone serving an owner will never absorb the $500 fee. You just shouldn't. So our products add value to your owner's project, right? I showed you some cost savings associated with that. And we have two products, the Verify Report, which is just for a single building, and Portfolio Review, you're gonna see here in a second, for multiple buildings. Those are our two digital products. And then our services also offer rev share. So yes, in those apply services, we will definitely share those with you as well. Just think about us as those turnkey incentive services for you, bringing value to your owner along with revenue to your bottom line. Here's just a quick screenshot for our affiliates program. I have an entire PDF document that goes through this. We can talk in more detail a little bit later. Here's our most popular category, and just know everyone always thinks, oh, the volume, this is what the projects have to be per year. No, it's accumulative. So once you hit 50 projects with IncentiFind, which a lot of our affiliates already have, we go into a 50-50 split, which is really nice. All right, so let's talk about our July projects. Schools are reopening, right? And we had a huge amount of requests to see educational facilities. So we thought we needed to keep this data anonymized, but got some permissions to showcase this particular project. This is a private dormitory. They were looking at a lot of upgrades. Not only do they have to flush their systems, remember those low-cost building trends that I went over. Not only do they have to flush out their air and water systems, but in doing so, what happened? That owner was suddenly revealed with some necessary capital improvement projects. When that particular owner saw the capital improvement projects that were needed, his installer connected him to IncentiFind and said, look, I know there's a lot of sudden improvements that you weren't thinking about. Can I show you a group that can help bring cost savings to some of your scope of work? The owner was obviously pretty excited, so we got to work pretty quickly. The installer decided to submit the survey. Remember, either the affiliate or someone serving an owner can submit the survey, or the owner themselves. No wrong way, we just need very clear data on the project. They were obviously in a very unhealthy incentive landscape. Then the results were shot over to Grace and her team. Remember, they're not sent to you immediately. We need the humans to look at some interesting trends that are happening there. So Grace and her team got to work and determined that the owner was eligible for 11 incentives, but because of how fast moving this project was to get ready for the fall, there was really only 2 incentives that were considered. And this owner was very relieved to capture some quick cash reimbursements that essentially were upgrades that needed to be made, but with that extra cash back in his pocket, it helped to cover 30% of unexpected other types of capital improvements that he wasn't expecting. So really nice value add for his installer that otherwise this owner wouldn't have been made aware of, right? Let's talk about our South Florida logistics warehouses. These are conditioned warehouses in the South Florida area. This is for kind of near the port, if you will. So needs to be conditioned, lots of humidity in that area, very expensive facilities to run from an electricity standpoint, right? So this particular, we worked directly with the owner. They heard about IncentiFind through another sustainability director for another logistics company, and said, something's happened. Another logistics company has looked and sussed out all of our assets in Florida and built brand new, more energy efficient, conditioned warehouses almost next door to each one of their facilities. They said, now our tenants want to jump ship. We need to upgrade fast. And this happens a lot, let's be honest, right? Real estate is incredibly competitive. So we took all of these assets, and I'm going to show you how many there were. It's 67 assets that we looked at once. That's how much their South Florida portfolio held. And we showed right away using, majority of their assets had a very common size. While they might have varied just a little bit, we always say with portfolio reviews, choose the most common size or the largest building size, and then we can kind of work from there. So we ran the average of the sizes of the 67 facilities. They input a particular survey for that average size. We showed that they were in a very healthy incentive landscape. Showed them that, look, they're eligible for a lot of incentives, but if they want to make their tenants happy today and not sign that lease with the brand new neighbor that has the energy efficient, conditioned warehouses, let's talk about this one single incentive for LED lighting, very low hanging fruit, that they could go after. And you can see it was $26,000 per building just to look at that. We're actually going to come back with this particular portfolio and look at HVAC next. So what's really nice about the Verify report, remember I said it's open for 24 months. This project came in over 12 months ago. Since the report's been updated in the background, they've been able to use that to plan for their HVAC upgrade. So just a really nice feature, really nice story about IncentiFind. All right. So right now in the background, as I switch screens, I know you're going to think it's crazy, but I want you to go open up a window, go to IncentiFind.com, sign up right now if you already have it, if you haven't done so. Doing that is going to ensure that any survey you submit, we don't want it floating around and on the web. So by signing up and filling out a survey, it's going to make sure that that stays completely closed to your account. So forgive me, sometimes it's hard to talk and log into a new window. So I'm going to be diving into our database just to show this particular Virginia project. I just need to anonymize it first. And Grace, what is the first name that I'm filtering by? I apologize, we've so many owners.
Which, I'm sorry, the login?
No, the Virginia project, what's the first name of the person that I'm filtering by?
Oh, it's probably going to be under Marty, I think, or Martin, probably, because he filled that out.
All righty. There it is. Okay, I think I got it. Perfect. Okay, let me open this up. Give me 1 second, guys. It's fine. You should be at IncentiFind.com. That's why I always encourage people at this point to go and do that. All right, let me put this in example mode. I do need to anonymize this. If you ever need IncentiFind to sign an NDA or a CA, confidentiality agreement, please know that that is very common. And as you're seeing here, none of, we will never reveal your projects further. If they're ever used for a webinar, you saw right here, all we can tell you is that this is in Virginia, can't disclose the city, can't talk about any other details, and we're okay with that. That's completely fine. So here we go. On the screen, you're seeing a Verify report. Let me first show you our search survey. So if you signed up, like I was telling you to do in the background, you log back in and you should see this. You're not going to see as many navigation tools as I do. I'm in my admin view, but you will at least have search, and you're going to click search and you're going to say, I have a project. So let me open that in a new tab. And this is our search survey. This is what takes all of 2 minutes, but we need it. There's no other way we can match make you to incentives without having some questions answered, right? We're swimming in a sea of over 12,000 incentives in our database. This bit of information is you actually applying filters and helping Grace and her team to know how to produce your Verify report pretty quickly. So you're going to state who you are. Maybe you're the owner operator, or sorry, this is to describe who your owner is, right? So maybe they're an owner operator, maybe they're a developer. So you just indicate who the owner is. Then here's where, if you have a portfolio, here's where you would indicate, I have a portfolio of, and just notice however many assets. We're going to always be very transparent and list the pricing. As the number of buildings go up, notice our price drops dramatically. So we're really trying to make sure that, this is not a costly exercise for your owner. If you have a campus, kind of same thing. Which best describes you? Maybe you're the architect, facilities manager, you name it. Maybe you're just an owner's representative. So just telling us who you are helps us know how to engage with you, right? So if you need us to report back to you before you talk to your owner, that is okay. We do that all the time. So entering in a survey does not mean that your owner will be notified. We can report everything back to you. You need to let us know what stage your project is. Each one of these I's are tooltips. And so you don't have to memorize what I'm saying. Scroll over that tooltip. If you are a new construction project, notice what it says at the bottom, 60 days from the receipt of certificate of occupancy. That's all, that says, you know, that's bottom of the ninth, right? Submit before 60 days from CO, right? If you're an existing building, you need to be 60 days before you're doing anything demo related or install related. Why? Most programs, I don't think Grace or her team have ever seen a program on an existing building that doesn't require a pre-install inspection. That inspection is the difference between eligibility, non-eligibility. Getting your survey in at 60 days truly is bottom of the ninth. We have so many projects. So anytime before that is honestly much better. We can get responses back to you. Then you have plenty of time to show this to your owner. What type of financing? Just know that we're connected to a large network of lenders. So if your owner has a determined financing, we can connect them. No, we don't get any kickbacks from that. We just have a lot of lenders that say, look, we're really obsessed with financing green projects. Can we be part of your network? Yeah, absolutely. We don't negotiate rates. We just help get your owner connected. We're gonna ask the age of the building, and notice if you start clicking buttons that say over 21 years old, we'll start asking pretty smart questions. Is this a historic building? Is it on the National Historic Registry? So this is a very dynamic survey that will make sure, you know, you're giving us the minimum amount of information to determine your eligibility as fast as possible. Here's where you're going to choose your building type. If you're on the private side, you'll go to commercial and tell us what's there. Maybe you're on the public side. That's okay. Look where it says public entity, and you can choose any of these. If you don't see your asset type, it's pretty rare, but it does happen every now and again. Send us an email. You'll have my email on this webinar. I'll make sure that we choose the closest asset, or I'll have tech add it right away. Either way, we're going to make sure that we get your information correct. Size of your building, pretty self-explanatory. Here's where you're going to tell our database what to look for. So let me just select all. Maybe you're really interested in energy efficiency indoor for these items. Notice we have outdoor. Miscellaneous, which could be like a cogenerational system, right? Retro commissioning. So here's the renewables. Notice battery storage is on that. We get a lot of questions about that. Here's your resilience ones. Fireproofing, floodproofing, hurricane proofing. Water conservation indoor, outdoor. And here's where other are. So if you have an affordable housing component on your multifamily, let us know. Totally different scope of incentives are available to you. Maybe you're interested in electric vehicles. Indicate it right here. Maybe you're getting LEED certified. You can do that here as well. If you're interested in our apply services, you'll just hit yes, and that means that we know to be ready and teed up that your owner is going to be interested in us taking the hard work of applying off of his or her plate. We ask what your project's name is because we like to have the same nomenclature. So if you've got a name for that project, we want to make sure all our correspondence talks in the same language that you do. Here is where we do need a complete address. This is easy for existing buildings. It can be a little tough for new construction. So just FYI, if you only have coordinates for your new construction, or you're teetering between two land parcels that your owner is not decided on, choose the land parcel that the owner is kind of listing as his or her favorite, and find the closest address to that land parcel. If it's, you know, the convenience store down the street or the school, you know, across the street, that's okay. Just know that if it's not a real address, it will be kicked back. It's just a Google overlay that we have. Tell us about the utility providers. Existing building, really easy. You should know these or your owner will. New construction, just put TBD if you don't know yet. Sometimes people do, sometimes people don't. Construction start and completion date. We do need this estimated date, so get as close to it as possible. Believe it or not, this is when we answer the question that every owner is going to ask you as their owner's representative. So when am I getting my money? This right here helps us determine that. And then if you're filling this out on behalf of one of your owners, it's very common. Here's where you're going to put their name. Please know, again, We are not going to notify that owner until you give us permission to. So mum's the word until then. The last question is just internal, so please ignore that. You hit submit, and remember our 3-step process. It's going to send the results directly to Grace and her team, right? It's going to tell you you're in a very healthy incentive landscape, but these are going to go straight to Grace and her team, and she's going to put together the verify report. And that's what you're seeing here on the screen, okay? So this will arrive to you as a link on your account. So when you go log in, you're going to see not only will you get an email notification saying, Grace is done with your report, go have a look at it on your profile by clicking this link. When you log in, you'll be directed to your verify report. And this is where the timetable kind of starts for the 24-month period. So this is kind of your table of contents on steroids, right? You can see we're going to list everything by the 5 levels of government: utility, city, county, state, federal. Watch as I scroll over these. All of these are hyperlinks to details below. If you're wondering, why the heck does it say none? Why would IncentiFind show me that there's no incentive offered? It's pretty simple. We noticed way back when we used to not show that owners would come back disgruntled. Did you check? I submitted that was my utility. I don't see anything on there about ABC gas or ABC electric. By putting this none on there, we help to close that window and say, we acknowledge that you put something in there. There is nothing offered by this particular city for this particular scope, as you indicated. Should something open up later on, just know that we now have that connection and we will be one of the first ones to know. So it really helps to kind of close that window. This table, Grace will go over with you. Whenever she submits and tells you your verify report's ready, it'll have the ability to look at the report and book a call. We recommend, and almost everybody does it, book a 1-hour call with Grace and her team, because you're gonna want somebody to walk you through these details. You're gonna want somebody to say, okay, here's how you use this. First off, this is your table of contents on steroids, right? Let's talk about, you said that heating and cooling were the most important things to you. Let's talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, okay? Here's where you're going to click and go directly to that program. So share this with the design team. Here are direct points of contact that you can look at. Here are some basic things you need to know, and let's talk about them to make sure your owner's eligible for. So they'll walk through this. Here's the, most favorite column, right? Everyone always wants to know, what is it worth? So we're going to give you a rule of thumb, and we'll say, okay, which of these scopes are you installing? It's going to be these 2 items. Great. Let's do a quick calculation at that. If there's a max cap on an incentive program, let's just say it's the program could be capped at 50% of the installed cost of any equipment below. We're going to make you aware of that. If a program application period is closed, we're going to let you know that. If it's going to be reopened, if funds are going to be replenished because we're at that halfway mark in a year, we're going to tell you that as well. If it requires a preferred vendor or contractor and you're not that person, we're going to let you know and say, hey, it's pretty easy to go sign up. So how about we give you the details to go do that? So little things like that. If pre-approval is required, we're going to let you know. If this had been a yes, all it means is we need final specs and scopes of work ASAP, because that money needs to be earmarked before the owner can be deemed quote unquote eligible. Pre-inspection, post-audit, owners typically like to know if somebody's coming on their site. How long will it take IncentiFind to apply? When is the owner going to receive their money? We are managing all those expectations. It's very rare that anyone really DIYs it, in other words, applies themselves. But we like to list these steps here in detail because we find that owners feel really comfortable knowing what exactly IncentiFind is helping with on the apply services. So you can see how detailed this is. We're going to coordinate those pre-install inspections if they're needed. We're going to coordinate the post-install inspections. We're going to tell you when pre-approval is received if that's a requirement. So a lot of folks like this column because it just helps to manage the expectation here. One last thing I just kind of want to note is right here above your incentive summary, be on the lookout. This is coming out right at the end of summer. We're very excited. Grace and her team not only tell you and help you arrive at which incentives to go after based on your survey response, they run a calculation for you. If you have finalized specs and scopes, they'll give you what we call a hard circle, and you'll see that right here where my cursor is. If you don't have that yet, but you have a general idea, you'll see a number over here called a soft circle, right? We just can't put a hard estimate around that because you don't have finalized specs and quantities. So we're really excited to see it posted to the Verify report, but please know those calculations come with this particular Verify report. And then the last thing I want to make note of is that any tax incentives, remember, we don't do in-house. We just can't. We're not a financial advisory firm, but not to worry. We can still white glove service this for your owner. So if he or she finds out, I'm actually really interested in this lucrative tax incentive that's almost $2,000 per unit for energy efficient measures, I want to learn more about it. With the purchase of our Verify report, they can click this button. We're going to get them connected to our subject matter expert in that particular geography of the United States. And that subject matter expert has signed up with IncentiFind to do one really cool thing, to have a 1-hour educational call with the owner. They're not going to drive a sale. They're going to tell the owner why they are eligible for this incentive, why it's good for them or not good for them, if it's a waste of time, if it's the right fit for them. And it's just really nice to have that, you know, elephant in the room eliminated. So you can also rest assured that your Verify report $500 fee gets your owner these 1-hour calls. And if there were 10 tax incentives that he or she wanted to learn about, yes, that they can have 10 1-hour calls with our subject matter experts. So just kind of wanted to make sure you guys knew that. Let me switch over real quick, or I should say, Grace, this is kind of your realm. Do you feel like I covered that okay, or anything else you think I should add?
Not off the top of my head. No, I think you did a good job just giving a good overall summary of everything. Yeah.
Awesome. Excellent. And I can't wait to have those, you know, numbers, hard circle, soft circle on the report. I know that's been a huge request from our owners. So now you saw our search survey. So let me just show you that. Now you saw our search survey. I told you to sign up. It takes 2 minutes to fill out that survey. It's really dynamic. It's going to ask all the questions necessary. We're going to send those results. Again, if you're in a rural area, that's going to be important to you, but most major metro areas have pretty healthy incentive landscapes. You saw a Verify report. You heard how the results are not sent to you right away. They're sent to Grace. She's going to layer in her expertise along with the team. There is a share button. I didn't show you that, but that's okay. Just know that with the purchase of that Verify report that your owner will pay for, now your owner can share that with the entire design and construction team. Maybe he wants to share it with his finance group, his CFO. Doesn't matter. It's unlimited. He or she bought that report, and they can share it however they see fit, right? That's their data for 24 months, and it will be updated continuously. You saw the help apply button, the get connected button, right? So your owner can have as many 1-hour educational calls as he or she wants. I didn't get to the apply dashboard just because we're short on time, but when you click that help apply, as you can imagine, we have a little dashboard that says, you know, Sally Jane, the owner, or Joe Smith, the owner, has elected for such and such energy efficiency incentive on this particular project, and that preparation has been assigned to Sam or Greg at the IncentiFind team. They are preparing that. Here's the timeline of events, and they get to just kind of watch it as they go into their apply dashboard, which they will get access to whenever they create their profile, and we'll tell you when the timing is right for that. Remember, we can sign an NDA or a CA, that's fine. And all of our subject matter experts must provide that education call. It's not gonna be a sales call, which is really nice. So let me just kind of end on this. I know we've got 2 minutes, but we always get the, wow, that was a lot of information and thanks so much. And this is a brand new product. So can you just help me boil it down? What should I do next? Well, again, sign up or register at IncentiFind.com, fill out a survey. This is really important. Please do not use a previous project or a fake project. We've had people do that. We return these awesome Verify reports and they don't have any real questions that mean anything to them because it wasn't a real project. Please use a project on the horizon. What's really nice is if you're a first-time user, We're going to bypass that $500 fee. We're going to show you the Verify report for free. And then if you want to keep it or pass it on to your owner, then that's when we'll assess the fee. So take advantage of that. It's a really nice way to get to know IncentiFind, see the value we bring to you and your team. There's my HubSpot link. There's my email address. This recording is going to go back out to you in 24 hours. You'll see an email from Zoom. And if you want to see another project next month in August, please let me know what that is. I'd be happy to feature that. We've got thousands of projects we can pull from and are always excited to show our particular owners and affiliates what we've done at IncentiFind. I know we are at time, so I probably just spoke too much, but how about this? Any remaining questions, please send to me via email. Let me cut you loose because you've already given me an hour of your day. So thank you so much. We hope to see you guys back in August, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you guys on a search survey.